this morning?
Yes.
Are we good to go? I'm just doing filler stuff anyway, so it's no big deal. Some unfortunate news, we may not take the full hour, so if you want to get a good seat for lunch, that's probably going to happen. So just wanted to get that, clear the air on that. We're talking about forming a faculty learning community around a product called iClicker. Actually, I think iClicker/Reef is the official name. Student response systems, audience response systems, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're talking about. I think most people should be familiar with that. You've heard it. They've been around for a while. My name is Leif Nelson. I'm the director of a department called Learning Technology Solutions at Boise State University.
And I am Grace Tuttle. I'm instructional technologist who work for Leif, and I manage the tool iClicker on campus.
So a little bit about the background and some things in our past experiences that led to us talking about creating a faculty learning community around this topic. I used to do clicker training at past institutions years ago, and I had this epiphany moment once when I was doing one of my standard beginning of semester technical trainings for faculty that were new adopters of this clicker technology or they just needed a refresher. And what I found myself doing was going over the same old kind of spiel about how to get your session set up in the classroom, how the technology worked, how the receiver worked. I talked about how it uses radio frequency technology, and this is the channel you're on. And I just watched their eyes glaze over as I talked about these things. And I used to think, you know, my goals for this training is that I wanted faculty to A, use this technology effectively, and I also wanted them to avoid some of the common, I guess, misuses of clickers. Don't just use it for attendance, have some deeper, you know, intentional uses for this thing. And what I found throughout the semester is they kept coming to me with a lot of follow-up questions. Some of them were using it for these superficial attendance kinds of purposes. And I asked myself, what's going on with the training? Where am I falling short? What's going wrong with this, right? So I decided as a way to address that, ask the faculty themselves, what do you want from training? And what I found out was that they were interested in things that were much different than just the technical training or memorizing the steps or how radio frequency works. They were interested in how can we learn from our peers, our fellow faculty members, good practices and interesting activities that they're doing in their classes. They wanted to have more of a dialogue and not so much of the technical kind of going over the steps. I could give them a handout that they could use as a cheat sheet in the beginning of the classroom, rather than spending a whole hour or several different sessions going over this technical stuff. So my approach to this was that they needed to eat their vegetables and have that kind of level of training. What they were really hoping to do was develop this like community garden or community of practice among faculty members. So that past experience really stuck with me, and as Grace has been supporting clickers at Boise State, we talked about some of these things and how we can learn from our faculty what they want and then support that.
So the inspiration came in when Dr. Evans from University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, came in to do a workshop last semester, spring of 2017. And then, but I thought to myself, hey, this is great. You know, I love having other faculty member telling our faculty member. But I kind of didn't like that idea in a way. I want rock stars from Boise State. Why can't it be us? Why does it have to be another professor from another university? But when I was thinking about that, and ding, 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 in a way, to be honest, I got jealous. But then I thought of what my mom told me. If you get jealous, you need to do something about it, not something bad about it, but you gotta create a change. That's stuck in my mind. Well, what can I do about this, this inspiration I got that I wanna build FLC? I really did not know much about FLC. All I know is that our sister company, I modeled this, our sister unit, the Idea Shop, where Lana, Devshika, and Brian are right now. I look at the website, I talk to Bob, I talk to other people, I talk to other designers. What can I do for this FLC to happen? I worked in researching this, and then I said, I talked to Leif. And then I said, what am I gonna do about this? Can this happen? So then, we were brainstorming, and then, but I want to do something. I want to do something so then I can get community, you know, to be together. People who are using iClicker, they gotta be, you know, we gotta train them, right? That's what I was saying. To be successful is to kind of modeled it from our sister company. So that's how the idea started. And after that is I started talking to faculty members.
I would also say that we went through a change. We had a previous clicker technology, and then we switched to a different one, hoping that that would increase adoption. And we saw that while a lot of faculty said that they were more satisfied with the new product, the adoption levels kind of plateaued for years. And we were wondering if there's anything about the training or the collaboration that might influence that a little bit. So we wanted to grow adoption. And then as Grace mentioned, we totally ripped off the Idea Shop and Center for Teaching and Learning. They'd been doing this faculty learning community thing for years. And so I asked permission of their leadership, do you mind if we steal this idea? We're in IT, and that's a totally separate division on campus. They said, of course, go ahead. This, it works, you know, do it. So
And
that
I
was,
want to point something out. If you see this lawn right here, it's brown. Especially we live in Boise, right? We don't get a lot of rain and all those kind of things.
that's a Corvallis lawn on the other
Now
side.
this is Corvallis lawn, okay? And when I was thinking about this change I'm about to do at Boise State, when I kind of got a little bit of that jealousy when Dr. Evans came in our school, I need to be here. I cannot be here. I can look at it, right? But I'm not satisfied because that little jealousy. I want rock stars from Boise State. It's not that I don't like your faculty members, don't, you know, I'm not saying that.
So
But I want this, so that's why I started the FLC.
we started wondering, what can we do to really cultivate and maintain our lawn? Are you seeing a theme here yet?
Yes. So the goals is to build a community. The taking risks and experiment is not just really for faculty to do that, it's also for me. No, I'm instructional technologist. I'm new into this instructional design area. I work with my coworkers to make things work. I work with Leif. I work with other team members in our group.
We also, are you ready for the next bullet here?
Yes, go ahead.
Herbalife.
Yes.
You all heard of Herbalife? It's kind of a pyramid scheme, right? The idea is that if you get people working for you and then they sell it, then everybody at the top of the pyramid kind of gets a cut of what happens downstream. So we were thinking again about adoption, if that was one of our goals. How can we structure this in a way that faculty members would be incentivized to bring other faculty members into the fold around clicker technology? And we talked about the final presentation. If they wanted to earn their stipend for doing this, is they had to invite some of their colleagues to come to the workshop. So it's the Herbalife model.
That's right.
Maybe a farmer's market's a better analogy because it's really about collegiality and cooperation and faculty encouraging their peers. But we joked about this pyramid scheme that we were trying to create.
I actually called it Amway. I know that has a bad connotation, okay, but it's not really the negative part of that. It's really getting your peers, you know, if you invite your peers usually come. And if they can't come, they'll tell you, I can't go today because I have, I have an appointment or whatever it is. That's why I'm using, in a way, the Amway way. My husband said, don't use that word. I'm like, I'm using it in this term because it works.
But again, the idea is really to just get faculty sharing ideas with their peers because there's a lot of trust among faculty members. We're just the IT people, right? And we can talk until we're blue in the face about pedagogy. But really hearing from other faculty can be really powerful.
2015.
Yeah.
You can
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about
Let's go
pilots.
way back. Let's go way back to 2015. Like I mentioned, we had a different product, and in order to, well, let's see. There were talks about dissatisfaction with this product. I don't know if we can talk, turning technologies, right? There was some dissatisfaction with the process and the technical difficulties, and they were moving towards a cloud application. They were changing our pricing structure on us, and this was the icing on the cake. A student who their grandfather or somehow they had a connection to our president. They were complaining about these clicker things, and when the president hears a complaint, that's like everything stops until you fix this issue. So there were plenty of triggers that led us to reevaluate our standard clicker technology. We went through a pretty methodical process that involved a combination of things. We did evaluations of products. We had faculty pilots in some of our freshman first year experience UF courses. We compared multiple products. We did surveys with students. We asked them about, kind of their satisfaction. We did usability studies. Some of those usability studies included folks from our Educational Access Center to make sure that the products we were looking at were I wouldn't say 100% compliant. There were some issues with all of them, but some were more accessible than others. So those were important factors for us.
So then, when we had Dr. Evans come last year, guess what? I became the product owner. And I was very, very glad to handle that product because I was already forming relationship to faculty members to begin with. And cultivating relationships is very, very important in what I do at Boise State, or in what I do as whatever job I've done. So summer of 2017, after I talked to Leif, I want to do this, and of course he says, yes, you can do it. And I started calling some of the iClicker faculty members. I just started having coffee with them, and I was telling them about this idea, trying to pitch an idea that I don't fully understand, but it's the goal that I want to accomplish, right? I really cannot talk the talk. I said, okay, forgive me about this, but I'm thinking about students. Really, it's the students. How can we engage them to use when we use this technology? So I had a lot of coffee talk with some of the faculty members, right? So I was cultivating that relationship, and by fall 2017, FLC, iClicker sprouted. There's the theme.
Grace does a good job of building relationships, and sorry to bring this up, but she talks about meeting people in the campus rec center, the gym, and I imagine her like chasing people down on the track, like, hey, let's talk about clickers.
I didn't want to mention that.
You do that, don't you?
I do that.
That's great.
I do that. That's okay, that's fine.
But I think, and it's important too, because clickers on campus are, I mentioned kind of low adoption. The student population is actually quite large. It's something like 1/3 of all of our students use this clicker mobile application technology. Like I mentioned in our first year, the foundational studies courses. So there's a lot at stake, and we want faculty to do a good job. So we try to, as Grace says, have coffee with them, sit down and talk through what their issues are and concerns. We like to be embedded in the classroom. We send people to support as they're getting things started up. We send student employees sometimes to help with these things. So we really try to have a close relationship with faculty to make sure that they're using these things effectively and successfully. And we chase them down on the track if we have to.
So the reason why I put this up here is because I kind of want to show you the diversity of their field, because the goal is to connect one faculty who's teaching different skill than the other.
A cornucopia, if you will.
Yes, I think, and I
diverse
was telling him,
disciplines.
let's get an exotic fruits here, right? So because I'm thinking of the different, skills, the different levels of a faculty member. Even though I have community and health, one was actually a practitioner for so long, and then he became an instructor, right? And then, as you can see, we have Peter Molnar, who is a distinguished professor here. And I'm not sure if that was the professor that Lana was referring to today, but in a large classroom, I'm going to segue into this, he's one of the people who uses digital policy. And anyway, so I really like this. They asked me so many questions that I don't really kind of know about, but I know that I'm going to support them, find out an answer for them. That they are very, very good resource for me and for students. Okay, as you can see, iClicker Reef is very, very easy tool to use. But this is my role right there, right? But I needed to talk to security people. I need to talk to customer service, to the help desk. I need to talk to Idea Shop and CTL to get all of those strategies so then I can make this work. I have to talk to my team, the LTS. I have to talk to the bookstore. Okay, I go there. When I say talk, I don't just do phone call. I just don't do email. I go there. If I don't get an answer, I walk to the bookstore and barge in. I really do. Because in a good way. And sometimes I see some of these people in the gym and I talk to them. And the reason why I say it's easy, it is really easy to manage it. But you have to know that you gotta cultivate that relationship. So constantly I'm talking to mostly the people in the middle. The reason why Melissa here, this is the iClicker support. Very great support I get all the time. If I cannot answer questions, she will help me out. But to get to faculty and ultimately students, like what I said, I have to cultivate relationships. We were having a network issue this semester. I just did not do a phone call or email or whatever. I said, hey, Ben, that's one of our network guys. Would you mind going with me in the classroom? Because I want to show you what's going on. And please explain to me why geolocation is not working in this classroom. I didn't bash him. I said, do you mind? He said, yeah, let's go. So as soon as we walked in, he said, oh, there is something wrong. You know, he does his thing. And then, so we go resolve an issue like, yeah, there's a problem in this place. And then we go to another room and visit classroom, same thing. And then, but I prepped him and I said, please make sure when the faculty says something, just be calm. Just don't make them look stupid. Just kind of go with the flow, you know, and then we will get back with her or with him after the class, right? So the important thing here is building that relationship. And I just don't dump them. I just constantly following up with them. How's it going? How can I help you? And sometimes I have to refer them to, you know, idea shop because sometimes they say, I just want to do attendance. Well, sometimes iClicker does not, you know, that's not how you want to use the tools.
I mean, really, it seems simple. You ask a question and students press a button to indicate their answer. But behind the scenes, especially when we talk about technology in an enterprise environment, there are a lot of people that need to be involved in that conversation in order to make this thing work. It relies on students purchasing things, faculty getting training and support, and things that have to do with our enterprise network environment. These are constant things that we need to monitor and be involved and keep people as part of the conversation to make sure that it works. So we did the FLC, the Faculty Learning Community, the first ever run by an IT department, and good turnout. The faculty members really they ran the show, right? I mean, they were involved in planning. Grace was really the facilitator of these discussions among faculty, and it was exciting to watch them come together as a community and talk about what things they felt were important to try to impart to their fellow faculty members around the use of student response systems. The workshop, like I said, it was a success. We recently did a survey, and we asked about what kinds of technologies are faculty currently using or interested in using in the future. And we already knew that currently using would be clickers would be one of the lower on that. But it was the #1 topic that faculty were interested in using in future semesters. And I think that's a testament to the success of the faculty learning community that we did and getting the word out about that. Related to publicity too, this got some recognition from our vendor partner. Macmillan invited Grace to be one of their featured speakers. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that at all.
Oh yeah, they invited me to do a webinar for them. So instructional technologists or designer can come together and listen to what I've done for Boise State. Know that this is a new territory for an instructional technologist, right? But if you want to do it, all you need is a support first from your boss, and then you just need to cultivate that relationship. Relationship, no matter how I don't know, relationship really matters, especially in higher ed.
So here's just another testimonial from one of our satisfied participants that attended the workshop. And this is, feel free to jump in, Grace, but this is somebody that used the previous product. They were burned by it, and they swore they were never touching clickers again because they had such a bad experience. And this is what this person said. At the workshop, I was delighted to hear how easy clickers were to use. I was also exposed to different ways of using them, such as targeting, Before the workshop, I was hoping to use clickers to teach my course with 80 to 120 students in a semester. After the workshop, I was not only encouraged by how they were less difficult to use than the old system, but also by the variety of ways they could be used. Finally, I was thrilled to find out that Grace Tuttle would be there to help me every step of the way through implementing clickers. So here was somebody that swore off clickers for life, and now she came back into it because of this workshop that we held. And Grace.
One of the things that I'm doing is if you are a new faculty who is going to be using this, of course there's consultations and all. I actually show up in a class, first day or maybe second day. I'm kind of like a leech in a way, because the reason why I do show up is because I want to understand how they use the technology, right? Prior to coming to Learning Technology Solutions, I was a support at the College of Business and Economics. So I kind of know a little bit of how the classroom management works, what images are there. I also kind of want to understand what's new. Why, how come right now she or he's not able to use the software in the classroom? That's the reason why I show up. And then a lot of times I find out the student is not understanding the instructions or just don't read the syllabus. So I suggest to faculty, maybe you need to make this announcement in Blackboard higher than, so then they understand, they can see it where it is. And then with that, because I show up in classrooms, I see students' frustration. I also open up student consultations. And because of that experience, I was able to talk to Leif and I said, I need at least a student worker dedicated to help us. Because ultimately, we are serving the students, right? I mean, yes, the faculty, but that's what it is. So that's why I show up in classes, and they love it when I show up in classes. And sometimes you don't have to be here full hour class or hour and 15. Sometimes I do stay because I see what's going on. And sometimes I just exit slowly and silently. But then some professors will call my name and I go, oh, yeah. So, I stay all the time. I will not leave them hanging. Even if it's like in the middle of the semester, if they need me, I go. I don't like the phone. Oh, this is how you resolve it. That's not really how I work. Because it's better for me to go there and see what's going on, right? That's why I do what I do. And I'm not going to make any excuses for that, and I love doing that. So
That's an interesting point you brought up too about student employees or student help, because I think just like the faculty-led community is successful because it's peers helping and supporting peers, that also applies in many cases to students, whether it's students in a classroom that are just members of the class that learn how to use this, and then they'll kind of tell their friends what to do to troubleshoot issues and stuff, but also having that student employee or student intern, I think is just helps. Maybe they have some clout, or it's a message that's better received, I think, from fellow students sometimes. So what are we doing next? I think this FLC model, it does work, and we plan to apply it to other technologies that we support. We may do a clicker FLC again in the future, but really like Johnny Appleseed, kind of spreading apple seeds throughout the country. We're just planting these ideas. We're cultivating faculty relationships and communities of practice so that they can be the ones that are sharing what works, what doesn't work, how to use this effectively, and then we're just there to sort of facilitate and support where necessary. And like I warned, I don't know if we're going to take up the whole hour here. We'll open it up to questions for a while. Otherwise, go get a good seat for lunch. Yep. Oh.
I tried. Hey, I'm not a...
So, could you give, and maybe you covered it, maybe I missed it, but like how often did the faculty meet, and how many did you have attending?
So they met once a month for about 90 minutes. During that 90 minutes, we have activities that we talk about. I facilitate that discussion, and they met 3 times, but the 4th time is when the workshop is going to be, presented on campus.
I think the structure too wasn't the first meeting. It was more about just getting
technical.
everybody on the same page as far as the technical and what the products are and stuff. You brought in a senior user of this technology to just tell some of the newer adopters what he does, how it works, those kinds of things. Then the next two were planning for this culminating workshop, which itself got them talking about best practices and how-tos and what they wanted to communicate to their peers.
Paid a stipend?
Yes, they were.
Biggest challenge and biggest victory out of the whole process?
My biggest challenge really is scheduling. I don't know how to say that. You know, like you have so many different departments, right? Just to look at that, the scheduling of that. And then luckily, I kind of have an access to building, my old building, College of Business and Economics. So I made sure like, okay, I want that room. I just, you know, I just look at that. Actually, I turn away other people into this FLC because of scheduling. My biggest victory is really, honestly, relationship. I'm building more relationship everywhere I go. So now, one of them, Dr. Karen Adams, told me that they have the biggest college or school at Boise State. But she said what she wants to do is to actually get them all use the response system. So to me, I'm like, okay, it's not me talking now. It's going to be her. So she's going to be presenting this in their meeting, right? And then other people will call, hey, she told me about this. Can I use clickers? Can I use that? So I really like that. I actually had phone calls before I left for a conference. So business is good.
The Amway model worked.
It's good. So
So on your campus with iClicker, you using the cloud app?
yes,
Okay.
and classic as well.
Do you have your students? Do students have to purchase the use? So it's on them to have to purchase it rather than you provide it to them.
Yes, currently they have to, they pay, right? Because we don't have that quite adoption yet to where we can have like an enterprise model. I don't think that we will be able to justify that right now, so they have to pay.
When we switched from turning to iClicker Reef, one of the things that we were presenting this as was what we called a mobile-first strategy, and trying to encourage faculty to let students use their mobile devices if they had a good policy and thought around it, as in the last session that was discussed. And what we've seen is that it's shifted. The majority is actually just the application, so that's much more affordable for them when they buy a subscription from the bookstore. A significant number still use the physical clickers, though, so we're talking with iClicker Macmillan about what different bundled options might look like. We've thought about enterprise pricing and central funding and things like that, but we just don't have the adoption levels to justify it, so it's
Yeah,
still...
even I came from a really small school, and we decided just to adopt the clickers, the app, just go completely app-based, and just provided it to
Nice.
students. So any faculty member who wanted to use it, students already had the app, so that wasn't gonna be a barrier
Yeah.
to getting started. So I had actually another question, which was, how did you involve the instructional design folks in looking at how faculty wanted to use how would they actually incorporate it from a design perspective?
Yeah, some of them do come to us, like Devshika and I will meet with some of them, you know, and but not all, because before some of them were already user of some type of student response system, and then but if people wanna do it, Devshika and I collaborate, and then we talk to them.
So just to piggyback off of that question, so you may have mentioned this briefly, but so was this in collaboration with the Idea Shop and CTL, or was this kind of an offshoot of what they had previous offerings of the faculty
to build
learning
the
community?
FLC, you mean? Well, I started, I really did not know much about I mean, I heard words, FLC, SLC, you know, all these, I hear a lot of words, right? But that does not stick until I actually, it comes in my brain, ding, ding, ding. So it started when that professor from Eau Claire came, and that's when I want that idea to be reality at Boise State. And when we decided that we're going to do this, and then we started talking to the director of Idea Shop to kind of ask, can we ask them questions, you know, involve them a little bit.
So what is the Idea Shop, like some innovation lab
That's-
or?
Grace and I are in IT, managing like enterprise applications and things like that. The Idea Shop has instructional design consultants that do a lot of one-on-one consulting with faculty. They manage a lot of programs around emerging technology and different events and workshops and things like that. So I think it was probably more of an offshoot, but it was also a collaboration. So the answer to your question is both. They helped us a lot with the promotion and advertising and inviting faculty and things like that.
Thank you.
And a part of that too is the director of CTL. She is a user of iClicker, so she promotes that in her course design institute. So that's kind of one of those things that it's an offshoot and it's a promotion from CTL as well.
And Grace, correct me if I'm wrong. I think, in summary, it's the model is the same
Yes.
as the faculty learning community is run by the Idea Shop
Yes.
/ CTL, but it's not an offshoot. It's
It was-
their own production. They consult with us as and when needed, when faculty have a pedagogical bent that they want to work with. Some faculty just want to know how to use it. Grace will show that. If faculty says, I don't know how to use it, tell me why, she will bring me in from the Idea Shop to consult. But otherwise, it's their independent production in the model of what the Idea Shop.
It was an appropriation. We used their branding for our event.
Yeah, because we really work closely with them together. You know, we are the IT department who works closely with Idea Shop and CTL. So that's why, in a way, sometimes, I mean, some people don't understand that outside of the three groups. Sometimes you guys would understand the collaboration, but like even some other IT people in our department, I don't think that they kind of understand that. But that's kind of, we're like joining the hip in a way.
So at our institution, we were able to get central funding, and so students don't have to pay for the subscriptions, which works out really well because quite often we'll have faculty that only really want to try it out a couple of times during the semester, and for them to have the students have to go buy the subscription, or in the olden days, physical device, to just use it a couple of times they hesitated to do that. And so now, there's no problem with them doing it twice during the semester because it's already funded, and then they'll do it twice, and the next semester they'll do it 4 times, and the next semester they'll do it 8 times because they get used to it and can see the benefits of it. So we're lucky and grateful to have the central funding that way.
That's a
The Faculty Technology Center at BYU, Idaho.
That's a good point too, because sometimes the cost could preclude experimentation. If a faculty member just wants to try something a couple of times and students are required to purchase the application or the device, and it's like, ooh, that's pretty serious. I don't know if I'm ready to commit on that level. But we try to address that. We have some checkout clickers that if people wanted to do it a couple times this semester, you can't really do it with the
app.
Can you do it with the app? There's like a
2
trial
weeks.
period you can get.
It depends on the size of the class, and then I try to work with Melissa, you know, with Macmillan with this. I'm very pushy. If I said you want your product, you know, to be used in school, I think I need 25 licenses for this, you know. Of course, I mean, I'm not going to ask for 100. I think I'm also reasonable, but we do have checkout. Products that I actually gave to psychology, use them, you know, use them for time being.
But I think central funding would be great if we can swing it. I mean, I don't know if anybody else in higher ed is facing budget constraints, but we can look at things like student tech fee. We've explored rental models. These have been sort of challenging, but if we could get central funding, then I think that would help a lot.
Do you run into problems with students who don't have the phones to be able to do iClicker?
No, well, we also have a rental, not checkout model from our zone. So either the physical clickers or any device, so that's not a problem. And I actually have extra app codes for students who are really needing it, financially needing it. For example, like veterans who are not able to get their funding like 3 weeks or 4 weeks later, I'm just gonna hand that out. Or like a professor would come to me, hey, like I'm about 3 weeks out and this is really in financial need. I let the faculty member let me know what's going on because I'm not gonna make that determination. So then I said, here's the help code. So I try to work with students and faculty if I can.
Couple questions about, the first one is, have you run into issues with instructors who simply don't want students to use their own personal devices, their smartphones in class? And the second one was any issues with dead spots or low Wi-Fi capability in areas or classrooms?
You want to take both of those?
Which,
Yes and yes.
yes and yes, yes and yes, yes, yes and yes. Instructors would say, I just only want to use physical clicker, you know. And I cannot stop that because that's their class, right? So I do have those. Usually they are in our, what we call the university foundation classes. They are large classes, and that's what they want in their class. So I can't stop that. And then the second one, yes, we have some dead spots. But usually the problem with that is not really our wireless. The problem is the geolocation feature of iClicker, not the actual answering of the questions, whether it's short answer or target questioning and stuff like that. And one of those issues is some students are not logging into Eduroam instead of they log into BroncoGuest. The BroncoGuest only limits them 30 minutes and it kicks them out. So I advise faculty, and I have a syllabus template that you need to say that you need to be logged into Eduroam. You know, so I'm learning as I go. So if I see something, I think we need to put this policy or this statement, right? So
I'll add to those a little bit. One of the reasons we chose Reef iClicker was because we had that flexibility to do either the physical hardware or the application, depending on the faculty member's comfort level with that. As far as the dead zones, we went a little overzealous a few years ago with Wi-Fi coverage on campus, and we actually put access points a little bit too close together in some cases, so they cancel each other out. And we have some new leadership in our networking team that's doing some pretty phenomenal stuff as far as like optimizing the coverage across campus. So it's getting better and better, but I know that Grace often reaches out to that team with specific classrooms that they need to address because they still have this legacy kind of challenges there.
From those of us, from a standpoint of professional developers, can you share with us a couple of things which maybe you won't do in your next iteration of the FLC?
I have not thought that far yet, Dashika, because I have other projects that I got from me. So I'm not sure if
Sorry.
I don't know. I really have
I
not
was just
thought.
trying to see, something which I might learn from. Like, don't do this.
I don't know
Well,
if it's a...
It's not really don't do. I just really facilitate the discussion. I don't run it, right? I mean, at first, okay, I have an agenda, but I tell them on the description that this is a moving target. We are going to change this as we go if you have any questions. So I had that first agenda in my head, but I'm not stuck into that agenda, right? So then the first meeting, they told me, well, teach us this technology. That's what they told me. What do you want to know about this technology? So that meeting, that agenda just changed that day. And then I just regroup and okay, what do you want to know? And then I think I'm just going to be flexible as to what they want to learn. Ultimately, it's them. It's not me. I just facilitate. I just kind of be quiet. and then I answer if I have to. I support. I mean, just explain if I need to. But I am not the star of the show.
I was going to say the same thing. I sat in on a lot of the meetings, and it's a balancing act between structure and letting it be kind of free flowing, just like teaching or anything else, right? And you have to be nimble, and it can be a challenge sometimes.
They love to talk, right? So, and then I'm like, okay, what do I do now, or something, Anyway, so that's kind of what I probably can share.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you all for attending.
Thank you. We
Enjoy
can
the
eat
rest of your day.
now.